So how's it going, Jesse?
Pretty good. We're here in Buenos Aires exploring the thriving bicycle community here and seeing how it's growing. It's been really fun. It's clearly an emerging thing here that people are adopting.
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't have such high expectations. Before coming here, I read a book by David Byrne from the Talking Heads called The Bicycle Diaries, and he travels around the world to cities with his folding bike, and he had a chapter on Buenos Aires. And when he was here in 2009, he said there was barely anyone on bikes, there was no bike pass, he didn't feel so safe. And now that we're here, I mean, it kind of feels like the opposite. There's bike paths, it feels like every 5 streets. There's a really great network of grid of lanes. People using their bikes for commuting, for going out at night, delivery drivers 24/7 on their cargo bikes. And there's tourists doing bike tours, renting bikes. It just really feels like it's happening.
Yeah, it's really taking off. I guess since that book was written, the cycling infrastructure here has gone from 0 kilometers of bicycle paths to somewhere around 200 kilometers. You can go to a coffee shop or a restaurant and they'll sometimes give you a 10% discount if you arrive on your bike. We went to a bar where they let us bring in our bikes, a couple of bars. Bring in your bikes, you hang them right on the railing, all the bicycles are there sort of on display and the bouncer's sort of watching the bicycles.
Feels good. You can even go to one of the parking lots and there's different rates for cars, motorcycles, and bikes. Keep it safe and sound for you.
Was it, I think, 6 cents an hour?
Yes, 6 cents an hour.
To store your bicycle. Yeah, so I'd say the road conditions here are pretty good.
Yeah, I would say even better than Montreal.
Yeah.
I mean, we're used to riding over potholes and everything, but the streets are really flat. They all seem to have been recently asphalted. Most of the cycle lanes are actually bi-directional, and I would say 90% of them are actually completely separated. So there's probably more kilometers separated than we even have in Montreal.
Yeah, it seems like it. They have these dividers, these sort of cement dividers on some of them. They keep the cars separated from the bike lanes, which is nice. And on the bike side, they're slanted. So if you bumped into it while you were riding, you just sort of go up it and come down. And they have these vertical sort of pylons all over the place, which help separate the cars. And sometimes they have them right in the middle of the bike path, separating the 2 lanes. So I'm not sure what those are for. Not a big fan personally.
Yeah, and the other thing that because of the bi-directional lanes, they're a little bit narrow, and generally if you're riding in the direction closest to the sidewalk, you're kind of in the gutter, and it's kind of at an angle. So
it's true.
You've got to be careful, and if you were running on narrow tires, it might be easy to catch an edge. And if someone's going by you with like a big wide cargo bike, it doesn't leave so much space. But aside from that, it's pretty darn good.
Yeah, road conditions are pretty good. One interesting thing is that if you're on a one-way street, you bike on the left-hand side, which kind of makes sense because the driver is very close to you, so they can see you. In North America, we have the convention of driving on the right-hand side, which is further away from the driver, so I kind of like that. It makes sense.
Yeah, and also a lot of the bike paths are actually painted green. To distinguish them from the road, so it's easy for the drivers to visualize where the bike lanes are.
Yeah, there's a lot of signage identifying.
Yes, a lot of signage, and generally pretty well respected. Generally people aren't walking in the bike lanes. I mean, if you go in the busy area downtown where there's a lot of markets set up, sometimes they're blocking the lane, but generally they're pretty good.
I'd say it's great. I mean, my biggest complaint is that Google Maps doesn't have them on Google Maps.
Yeah,
and we're traveling a lot with phones, but yeah, Google, if you could get on that would make it even more accessible. The cycling etiquette here is a little bit different than where we came from, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, when you're riding through intersections, generally there aren't always stop signs or yield signs, and you just kind of have to go with the flow and have confidence when you cross the street. And when the cars are going, whoever has the most speed and traffic flow, the others just kind of wait, and it seems to be the same for cyclists. Haven't really noticed too much friction between cyclists and drivers. I mean, there's a lot of buses on the road, there's a lot of motorbikes, but they seem to really give way. I haven't really been intimidated.
No.
Once in a while, a driver will cut you off when they're turning left, but I mean, I'm even used to that back home. You just kind of have to be perceptive and aware, but haven't seen any altercations between cyclists and drivers. The police really seem to let the cyclists just kind of do their thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, it feels pretty good. I have confidence in the drivers there. I don't feel intimidated by any of them. They seem to be very conscious of where the cyclists are. Sometimes you'll see a one-way street with cars whipping by, and a cyclist will just go right through like it's a chase scene in the movie. So it's pretty It's pretty impressive how everyone just gets along, and there's no clear rules, but who knows how it works, but it just works, and I feel pretty comfortable.
So a lot of people seem to be concerned about safety and theft about their bike.
It's true, we hear a lot about that, especially when you see your bike.
It's true. My bike, it's got some shiny silver parts, some leather parts. I mean, I brought a really good lock. My wheels are locked. I'm not so concerned. But we've heard stories about even people with good locks, instead of trying to cut the lock, they'll just cut right through the post to get the bike. And one option is some places you can bring your bike right inside. There's parking lots that they'll watch over your bike for something like 6 cents an hour. So that's always an option, especially at nighttime. So we've actually been super lucky to be hosted by Diego, one of the owners of B8 Bikes, a bike tour company here in Buenos Aires.
That's been great. We got to go on a couple of his tours, see some different parts of the city, learn about the whole place by bike, and also learn about the bike culture a little bit, and what's been helping it change and how fast it's changed.
Yeah, I mean, when they started their company 5 years ago, there was barely any bike lanes, and now, over 200 kilometers. And Buenos Aires has actually skyrocketed on the Copenhagen Eyes Index.
Yep, it's number 14.
Number 14.
Right? And it was number 0,
it was off the list.
It was off the list. And then Montreal's gone from number 11 to number 20, I think.
Yeah.
So you can see why that's happening here.
Yeah, for sure.
They're really putting in the effort.
But it's been great to be here in the city, but it's time to hit the road.
Yeah, looking forward to it. My bike's supposed to arrive today, and maybe we'll take off tomorrow, throw our bikes on a bus somehow, and go to Mendoza and see what happens, see some of the beautiful scenery out here.
Yeah, we've got 4 weeks ahead of us. So a little bit of Argentina, maybe a little bit of Uruguay.
Can't wait to try out some of the new gear that we got.
Yeah, try some wines.
Wines.
Little mate.
It's going to be hard to have a bad time.
Yeah.